Northwood High School, sprawling across acres of perfectly manicured suburban lawns, was a microcosm of ambition, aspiration, and often rigid social stratification. Its brick buildings and gleaming athletic facilities were a testament to the community's wealth and its fervent belief in competitive excellence. Football was king, but the cheerleading squad, with its precision routines, dazzling uniforms, and fiercely competitive spirit, held an almost equal dominion over the school's social landscape. Membership on the squad was a coveted prize, granting instant access to the apex of Northwood's intricate social hierarchy. It was a world of polished smiles, perfectly executed stunts, and unspoken rules, all overseen by the reigning queen bee, Tiffany Dubois. Tiffany Dubois was, by all outward appearances, the embodiment of Northwood perfection. With her cascade of perfectly highlighted blonde hair, an infectious laugh that could fill the cafeteria, and a natural charisma, she was the undisputed captain of the varsity cheerleading squad and the reigning homecoming queen. Her parents were influential figures in the community, her father, a successful real estate developer, and her mother, the head of several prominent charity organizations. Tiffany's charm, however, masked a deep-seated insecurity and a fierce, almost pathological need for control. She thrived on adoration and saw any challenge to her dominance as a personal affront. Her prejudice, inherited subtly from her environment, wasn't overt. It manifested in dismissive attitudes, exclusive cliques, and an almost instinctual suspicion of anyone who didn't fit her narrow definition of Northwood's elite. Her loyal lieutenants, Jessica and Chloe, two girls who mimicked Tiffany's every gesture and opinion, amplified her subtle cruelties with their own eager enthusiasm, often turning microaggressions into open, though disguised, mockery. This meticulously constructed world of Northwood was about to receive an unexpected tremor in the form of Maya Jenkins. Maya was a new student, having just moved to Northwood with her parents for her father's latest assignment. A graceful, agile 15-year-old with expressive dark eyes and a quiet intensity, Maya was a natural athlete. She had cheered at 3 different schools across the country due to her family's frequent relocations, and each move had instilled in her a profound adaptability and a formidable inner discipline. She viewed cheerleading not just as a sport, but as an art form, a demanding discipline that required strength, precision, and unwavering focus. Her talent was undeniable, her technique flawless. When she tried out for the Northwood High varsity squad, her skills shone so brightly that even the most jaded judges, including Coach Miller, the no-nonsense head coach, couldn't deny her a spot. She earned her place not through popularity or connections, but through sheer merit, a fact that immediately positioned her as an anomaly, and thus a threat in Tiffany's tightly controlled realm. Maya's father, Chief Petty Officer Marcus Jenkins, was a man of quiet strength and profound integrity. His presence was formidable yet gentle, his words few but impactful. He was a Navy SEAL, a fact that he and his family rarely, if ever, spoke about outside their immediate circle. It wasn't a secret in the clandestine sense. It was simply their normal. They didn't brag about his elite military service. His work was demanding, often dangerous, and required a level of discretion that extended to his family life. When he was home, he was simply Dad, a loving husband and a deeply involved father who emphasized discipline, resilience, and personal accountability to Maya and her younger brother. He knew the world was often unfair, and he had instilled in Maya the core values of quiet strength and integrity, teaching her to face challenges head-on, but also to understand when to seek help. He had a sixth sense for trouble, honed by years of high-stakes missions, and he observed his children with a subtle, watchful intensity. He loved Maya fiercely, and had implicitly taught her that true power lay not in overt displays, but in quiet capability and unwavering principle. The moment Maya's name was announced on the varsity roster, the subtle targeting began. Tiffany, who had expected one of her junior varsity friends to fill the last spot, saw Maya as an interloper. Maya's effortless execution of complex tumbles and high-flying stunts during tryouts had not only impressed the coaches, but had, in Tiffany's mind, cast an unwelcome shadow over her own leadership. During the first few weeks of practice, the bullying was insidious, almost imperceptible to anyone not directly involved. Maya was subtly excluded. Huddle conversations would cease the moment she approached. Social plans for post-practice smoothies or weekend study sessions were whispered just out of her earshot. Her name would be accidentally left off group chat invitations. "Oops, totally forgot, Maya," Tiffany would chirp, a saccharine smile on her face that didn't quite reach her eyes. Jessica and Chloe would follow up with exaggerated apologies, their eyes darting to Tiffany for approval. The locker room became a silent minefield. Her neatly folded uniform would sometimes be wrinkled or subtly moved. Her hair products, specific for her textured hair, would mysteriously go missing or be tampered with, once replaced with a sticky, unusable substance. Maya, accustomed to adapting to new environments, initially dismissed these incidents as typical high school drama, minor inconveniences she could navigate. She applied the same discipline her father had taught her to her cheerleading: focus on the objective, ignore distractions, and control what you can. She pushed harder in practice, perfecting her routines, determined to prove herself through sheer skill. But the bullying escalated, becoming more direct and laced with subtle prejudice. During drills, Tiffany and her clique would accidentally miss a catch during a stunt, forcing Maya to overcompensate or risk a fall. They'd provide deliberately incorrect counts during a complex routine, hoping to throw her off. "Oh, my bad, Maya," Jessica would say, feigning innocence. "I thought you were on a different count. It's just so hard to keep up with everyone, you know? Especially with so many different styles." The emphasis on different hung in the air, a coded jab at Maya's race and her unique style of dance and movement that infused her cheerleading. One afternoon, during a particularly demanding pyramid practice, Tiffany, acting as a spotter, intentionally shifted her weight at a critical moment, causing Maya, who was at the top of the formation, to wobble dangerously. Coach Miller, focused on another group, didn't see the deliberate action, but Maya felt the precise, calculated betrayal. She managed to recover with a quick, painful adjustment, preventing a nasty fall, but the incident left her shaken. "Watch it, Jenkins," Tiffany snapped, feigning annoyance. "You almost took us all down. Maybe you need to focus less on your flair and more on stability." Chloe snickered. The racial microaggressions became more pronounced. "Your hair is so brave, Maya," Tiffany would comment, running a finger near Maya's neatly braided scalp. "I could never pull off something so ethnic. Or, that music you listen to in the locker room? So vibrant. A little much for pre-practice focus, maybe?" Maya tried to shrug it off, to internalize the pain, drawing on the immense self-control her family had instilled in her. She had been taught to choose her battles, to never give anyone the satisfaction of seeing her break. But the cumulative effect was relentless. Her vibrant spirit began to dim. She started dreading practice, a place that had always been her sanctuary. She'd find excuses to stay home, feign minor aches, or disappear into her room immediately after school, a stark contrast to her usual energetic self. Chief Petty Officer Jenkins, a man whose senses were finely tuned to the slightest shift in an environment, noticed the change. Maya, usually so animated about cheerleading, now spoke of it with a strained enthusiasm. Her eyes, normally bright, held a subtle weariness. He saw the faint lines of stress around her mouth, the way she flinched slightly when her phone buzzed with team messages. He didn't press her directly. He knew that sometimes the hardest battles were the ones his children needed to approach on their own terms. But he watched. He observed. He began to pay closer attention to her interactions, to the girls on the squad, to the way Tiffany Dubois seemed to carry herself with an air of unearned superiority. He knew Northwood was a new, unfamiliar territory, and he had a well-honed instinct for hidden threats. He did not overtly intervene. A SEAL knew the value of gathering intelligence before deployment. The turning point came during a mandatory team bonding event, a scavenger hunt at the local mall. Maya, having begrudgingly joined a team, found herself paired with Jessica and Chloe. Tiffany, of course, was the leader of the opposing favored team. As the hunt progressed, Jessica and Chloe intentionally misled Maya, sending her on wild goose chases while they gathered clues elsewhere. When Maya finally caught on and confronted them, they laughed in her face. "Oh, Maya, didn't you get the memo?" Jessica sneered. "Some of us are just naturally better at this game. You're just not fitting in, are you? Chloe snickered. They abandoned her, leaving her stranded and humiliated in the middle of a crowded food court. When Maya finally made her way back to the meetup point, Tiffany approached her, a pitying look on her face. Rough day, huh, Maya? Look, it's nothing personal. Some people just don't have what it takes to be part of our team. Maybe cheer isn't for everyone. The dismissal, framed as a gentle suggestion, was a public cutting. Maya felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. She hadn't just been excluded. She had been actively, maliciously ostracized. This was the point of no return for the bullying. It was no longer subtle. It was an open declaration of war. That night, Maya finally broke. She didn't burst into tears or yell. Instead, she sat on the edge of her father's bed, her voice low and shaky, recounting the day's humiliation, then the insidious pattern of exclusion, the whispered insults, the sabotage in practice. They don't want me there, Dad, she finished, her voice thick with unshed tears. And I don't know what else to do. Her pride, her fierce independence, had finally given way to a desperate need for help. Marcus listened patiently, his face unreadable, his eyes fixed on some distant point. He asked precise, probing questions, not out of doubt, but out of a need for clear, actionable intelligence. Names? Specific incidents? Witnesses? He queried. Maya provided details, her voice gaining strength as she recounted the systematic targeting. When she finished, Marcus simply nodded, a dangerous calm settling over his features. He saw the pain in his daughter's eyes, the quiet suffering she had tried so hard to hide. This was no longer just about high school drama. It was about the systematic dehumanization of his child. The protective instincts honed through years of combat, of defending his nation and his comrades, surged to the forefront. All right, Pumpkin, he said, his voice surprisingly gentle yet firm. Thank you for telling me. Sometimes the bravest thing you can do is ask for help, and sometimes the biggest battles are fought not with brute force, but with precision and strategy. We'll handle this. He paused, a plan already formulating in his formidable mind. Just keep doing what you do best. Keep practicing. Keep being you. The truth has a way of revealing itself, often in the most unexpected ways. The following week, Northwood High buzzed with news of the upcoming Community Heroes and Veterans Appreciation Day. The event, spearheaded by Tiffany's mother and other prominent community figures, was designed to honor local first responders and military personnel. Mr. Thompson, the school principal, announced that a few distinguished veterans would be visiting various classes and perhaps even attending cheerleading practice to offer motivational talks. Tiffany, of course, saw this as another opportunity for her family to shine. My dad's even giving a speech, she boasted in the locker room, tossing her perfect blonde hair. He's going to talk about his real estate empire and how he's a true community builder. Not like some people who, just serve. She gave Maya a dismissive look, clearly implying that any military visitor would be of lesser status, easily overlooked, certainly not someone whose presence would threaten her carefully constructed world. She had no idea that her casually cruel words and her family's carefully curated event were about to become the stage for her own spectacular downfall. Marcus Jenkins had observed enough. The reconnaissance was complete. It was time for deployment. The days leading up to Northwood High's Community Heroes and Veterans Appreciation Day thrummed with an unusual tension for Maya Jenkins. The overt bullying from Tiffany Dubois and her clique had escalated, each sneer and deliberate misstep in practice a fresh cut. Maya found herself physically bracing for each interaction, her shoulders often hunched, her bright eyes clouded with a weariness that belied her youthful energy. She still showed up. She still practiced with fierce determination, but the joy had been sucked out of her passion. She kept her father's words close. We'll handle this. The truth has a way of revealing itself, clinging to them like a lifeline in the increasingly hostile environment of the cheerleading squad. She trusted her dad implicitly, but she couldn't fathom how he would solve this. Tiffany, oblivious to the storm she was brewing, was practically radiating self-importance. The Community Heroes Day was, to her, another platform for the Dubois family's prominence. Her mother, a prominent figure on the school board, had secured the largest donation for the event, ensuring Tiffany's father, a smooth-talking real estate mogul, would be the keynote speaker. Tiffany reveled in the preparations, often making dismissive comments about the boring military types who would be attending, contrasting them with her father's dynamic presence. She'd loudly complain about having to share the spotlight with some random veterans, never imagining that one of them, unassuming in his initial appearance, held the key to her undoing. She saw the event as a celebration of her family's perceived superiority, utterly blind to the silent, watchful figure already moving within the shadows of her carefully constructed world. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Jenkins maintained his quiet vigilance. He watched Maya closely, observing the subtle flinches, the forced smiles, the way she clutched her backpack tighter on cheer practice days. He didn't need words. His daughter's body language screamed volumes. He had contacted the school, not with an angry outburst, but with the cool, calculated approach of a seasoned operator. He spoke to Principal Thompson, a man more concerned with donor relations than student welfare, requesting a discreet observation of cheer practice during the upcoming Veterans Day event, citing a personal interest in student well-being due to his daughter being new. Thompson, eager to please a military parent he assumed was a mid-level officer, readily agreed, seeing no harm in it. Marcus Jenkins had also reached out to a few trusted contacts, fellow SEALs who had transitioned into private security or liaison roles, subtly gathering intelligence on Northwood's social dynamics and the Dubois family's influence. He knew that brute force rarely worked in these situations. Precision was key. His plan was not about vengeance, but about undeniable exposure, about unveiling truth in a way that left no room for denial or obfuscation. The morning of Community Heroes and Veterans Appreciation Day arrived, crisp and bright, promising a day of civic celebration. The school auditorium was festooned with patriotic banners, and the air buzzed with a mix of excitement and solemnity. Tables were set up for various local organizations, and a palpable sense of community pride filled the space. Students, teachers, and a smattering of community members gathered, along with a few uniformed police officers and firefighters, and a handful of veterans in civilian clothes. Maya's cheer practice was scheduled to be part of the demonstration segment of the event, showcasing the school's spirit. The entire squad was there, dressed in their crisp red and white uniforms, the usual pre-performance jitters amplified by the presence of a larger audience. Tiffany, with an exaggerated display of leadership, was barking orders, clearly trying to assert her dominance. "All right, team, let's show these heroes what Northwood's spirit is all about," she chirped, her voice dripping with mock enthusiasm when she looked at the handful of veterans seated in the bleachers. She winked at Jessica and Chloe, who giggled. "And Maya," she added, her voice dropping to a stage whisper that was just loud enough for surrounding cheerleaders to hear. "Try not to mess up the pyramid this time. We can't have any unprofessional accidents." The implication was clear. If Maya messed up, it was entirely her fault, and possibly racially motivated, a thinly veiled slur against her unprofessional flair. Maya's jaw tightened, but she focused on her breathing, remembering her dad's lessons on maintaining composure under pressure. She spotted him in the back row of the bleachers, quietly observing. He was dressed simply in jeans and a dark polo shirt, a casual figure blending into the background. His presence alone was a comfort, a silent promise. The cheerleading squad began their routine. It was complex, requiring perfect synchronization and trust. Maya, as a flyer, depended entirely on her bases for safe execution. As they moved into the challenging elevator lift to Scorpion, a foundational stunt for the pyramid, Tiffany, one of Maya's two bases, subtly shifted her grip, just enough to destabilize Maya's ascent. It wasn't a complete miss, not something Coach Miller could definitively call out, but it forced Maya to overcompensate wildly to maintain balance. Her leg buckled slightly, a gasp escaped her lips, and she stumbled visibly before regaining her footing. Tiffany's reaction was immediate and theatrical. "Maya, what was that? Are you trying to get us all injured? You need to pay attention," she exclaimed, feigning exasperation, her eyes wide with false concern. Jessica and Chloe immediately chimed in with their own feigned worry and thinly veiled accusations. "Yeah, Maya, you're usually so good. What's going on? Are you okay?" You look distracted. Coach Miller blew her whistle, her face a mask of frustration. Maya, what was that? Focus. We need precision here, not wobbles. The humiliation was searing. Maya's face burned. She felt the eyes of the entire squad, the coaches, and the small audience of parents and veterans on her. She had endured weeks of this, but this public, deliberate sabotage, designed to shame her in front of an audience that included her own father, was a new low. A single tear, hot and defiant, pricked at her eye. This was the point of no return. Tiffany had not only continued her bullying, but had escalated it in a public forum, directly impacting Maya's performance and dignity, daring to question her dedication and skill. Suddenly, a calm, resonant voice cut through the tense silence. It wasn't a shout, but it carried an undeniable authority that immediately drew every eye. "Excuse me, Coach Miller, may I have a word?" All heads turned towards the source of the voice. Standing at the edge of the bleachers, having quietly made his way down, was Marcus Jenkins. He still wore his casual clothes, but something about his posture, the stillness in his eyes, commanded attention. He didn't look angry. He looked utterly, chillingly composed. Coach Miller, recognizing him as the parent who had requested observation, nodded, a little surprised by his intervention. "Mr. Jenkins?" "Yes, of course." Marcus Jenkins stepped forward, his gaze sweeping the cheerleading squad. His eyes lingered for a fraction of a second on Tiffany Dubois, whose confident smirk had begun to waver under his steady, assessing gaze. He then turned to Maya, offering a subtle, almost imperceptible nod of reassurance. "My apologies for the interruption," he said, his voice calm and even. "But I believe there's been a misunderstanding regarding that last stunt. From my observation, the issue was not with the Flyers' focus, but with the base's execution. Specifically," he paused, his eyes now fixed on Tiffany, "the deliberate shift of weight, causing a momentary imbalance, which the Flyers skillfully compensated for, preventing a far more serious injury." Tiffany's eyes widened. Her face, usually so composed, paled. Jessica and Chloe exchanged panicked glances. They hadn't expected anyone to notice, let alone speak up. "What?" Tiffany sputtered, feigning indignation, her voice high-pitched. "That's ridiculous. I was doing my job. Maya just slipped." Marcus Jenkins didn't raise his voice. He didn't even change his expression. He simply stated, with the quiet authority of someone who had seen and analyzed thousands of complex maneuvers under pressure, "My daughter, Maya, is exceptionally disciplined. Her ability to recover from a compromised base is a testament to her training and resilience, and my observation skills, I assure you, are quite precise." He then turned his full attention to Coach Miller, his voice dropping slightly, but gaining an undeniable edge. "Coach, I understand the demands of competitive cheerleading, but deliberate sabotage, leading to potential injury, and creating a hostile environment for a new team member, goes beyond competitive spirit. It veers into misconduct. And that, I assure you, is something my family takes very seriously." He then addressed the headmaster, who had also approached, a worried frown on his face. "Principal Thompson, when I requested to observe today, I was interested in the safety and well-being of the students. What I have observed over the past few weeks, culminating in this very public display of targeted bullying and dangerous sabotage, concerns me deeply. I believe it warrants immediate, thorough investigation, and not just by the coaching staff." The headmaster, clearly unsettled by the directness of Marcus Jenkins's tone and the public nature of the accusation, nodded nervously. "Of course, Mr. Jenkins. We take all student safety concerns very seriously." Then, in a move that would send shockwaves through the entire assembly, Marcus Jenkins took a deep breath. His eyes, now sharp and unwavering, swept the entire room, taking in Tiffany's stunned face, the confused glances of the other cheerleaders, and the worried expressions of the parents. He knew this was the moment, the reveal. The climax was at hand. "Perhaps," Marcus Jenkins said, his voice resonating with a quiet authority that silenced the entire auditorium, "it might help the Northwood community understand the seriousness with which my family approaches discipline, integrity, and accountability." He paused, his gaze settling on Tiffany, whose jaw had dropped once more, the color draining from her face as a chilling premonition washed over her. Just 30 minutes after Tiffany had made her derisive comment about some random veterans, and the relative unimportance of military service compared to her father's business, she was about to face the full, undeniable weight of that very service. Marcus Jenkins unbuttoned his polo shirt. Beneath it, visible for all to see, was a plain white t-shirt, and around his neck, nestled against his skin, hung a simple silver chain. On that chain hung a small, distinct emblem, the Special Warfare Insignia, more commonly known as the Seal Trident. It was a small, unassuming piece of metal, yet its significance was monumental. Its presence immediately conveyed a lifetime of rigorous training, unwavering discipline, and unparalleled dedication to service at the highest, most elite level of the U.S. military. It wasn't just a pin. It was a symbol of an entire ethos, a silent, powerful declaration of his identity. A collective gasp swept through the auditorium. The few military veterans in the audience immediately straightened, their eyes widening in recognition and profound respect. Coach Miller's eyes went wide. The headmaster paled even further. Tiffany Dubois, who had been about to retort, froze. Her eyes were fixed on the trident, then on Marcus Jenkins's calm, unyielding face. The casual disdain she had held for military types, her assumption of their lesser status, shattered instantly. Her casual cruelty had been directed at the daughter of a man who embodied the pinnacle of military elite, a man whose judgment was forged in the crucible of life-or-death situations, a man who had just delivered a precise, unarguable tactical assessment of her deliberate sabotage. "My name is Chief Petty Officer Marcus Jenkins," he stated, his voice resonating with a quiet, undeniable power that filled the room. "And I am a Navy SEAL." His gaze, unflinching, settled directly on Tiffany. "And my daughter Maya is a testament to the discipline, resilience, and integrity we uphold. I assure you she doesn't slip, and she doesn't break." The pronouncement hung in the air, a final, definitive blow. Tiffany, her face contorted in a mixture of fear, shock, and utter humiliation, finally crumbled. Her bravado evaporated, replaced by the raw, undeniable terror of a bully caught red-handed, exposed not just by a parent, but by a true community hero whose quiet presence had shattered her entire world. The cheers for the upcoming hero presentations now seemed bitterly ironic, a prelude to a hero who had already arrived, silently observing, and now, finally, revealing his true, devastating power. The declaration hung in the air, a chilling pronouncement that stripped away the carefully constructed facade of Northwood High's cheerleading hierarchy. "My name is Chief Petty Officer Marcus Jenkins, and I am a Navy SEAL." The words, delivered with a quiet, unyielding power, landed like a tactical strike, detonating the illusion of invincibility that Tiffany Dubois had so meticulously cultivated. For a moment, the auditorium was plunged into an awestruck silence. The students, many of whom had giggled at Maya's earlier stumble or silently condoned Tiffany's cruelty, now stared, their expressions a mix of dawning comprehension and profound respect. The teachers, particularly Coach Miller and Principal Thompson, looked utterly flummoxed, their faces a canvas of dawning horror. They had dismissed Marcus Jenkins as just another parent, oblivious to the quiet powerhouse standing before them. Tiffany Dubois, the queen bee who had always controlled every social narrative, found herself utterly disarmed. Her initial shock morphed into a horrifying realization. The color drained from her face, leaving it a sickly mottled gray. Her mouth, which had been poised to launch another venomous retort, now hung agape, unable to form a single coherent sound. She swayed slightly, her perfectly coiffed blonde hair seeming to droop with the weight of her sudden, devastating public exposure. The casual contempt she had harbored for military types, her assumption of their lesser status compared to her father's real estate empire, had just boomeranged back with the force of an unyielding truth. She glanced desperately at Jessica and Chloe, but their faces mirrored her own terror, their eyes wide and fixed on the imposing figure of Marcus Jenkins. Their usually eager mimicry was replaced by a visible, bone-deep fear. Marcus Jenkins didn't raise his voice, didn't gloat. He didn't need to. His presence, coupled with the revelation of his elite status, was more than enough. He simply turned his gaze back to Coach Miller, his eyes holding an unwavering intensity. "Coach, I witnessed a deliberate act of sabotage designed to harm my daughter and undermine her confidence. This isn't about school spirit. It's about a hostile environment, dangerous behavior, and a fundamental lack of respect for another human being. That is unacceptable. And as a SEAL, safety and integrity are not negotiable. His voice was calm, but the underlying steel was unmistakable, a quiet threat that implied consequences far beyond the school's usual disciplinary measures. Coach Miller, a woman who prided herself on discipline, was mortified. She had a reputation for toughness, but also for fairness. The accusation, delivered with such precision and undeniable authority, cut her deeply. She had genuinely believed Maya's stumble was an accident or a momentary lapse of focus. To learn it was intentional sabotage, under her very nose, infuriated her. Her eyes snapped to Tiffany, who recoiled as if physically struck. "Tiffany Dubois," Coach Miller's voice was low, laced with a dangerous fury. "Is this true? Did you intentionally jeopardize a teammate's safety?" Tiffany tried to stammer out a denial, but her voice failed her. Tears welled in her eyes, not tears of remorse, but of fear and self-pity. Jessica and Chloe, seeing the tide turn, subtly edged away from her, seeking to distance themselves from the crumbling queen. Principal Thompson, meanwhile, rushed forward, his face a mask of panicked deference. "Chief Petty Officer Jenkins, please accept my sincerest apologies for this grave misunderstanding. We assure you, Northwood High takes the safety and well-being of our students with the utmost seriousness." He shot a desperate, furious glance at Tiffany. "Tiffany, come with me now. Coach Miller, please suspend all cheerleading activities pending a full, immediate investigation. I will speak to the Dubois family personally." He tried to usher Tiffany away, but she stood frozen, seemingly glued to the spot. "With all due respect, Principal," Marcus Jenkins interjected, his voice firm, stopping Thompson in his tracks, "a private conversation will not suffice. What happened here, today and over the past weeks, has been a public act of humiliation and, potentially, assault. The resolution should be equally transparent. I expect a full, impartial investigation involving the school board and a public apology to my daughter. And rest assured, my legal counsel will be following up directly with the school regarding this matter." The mention of legal counsel, delivered with such calm certainty, sent a fresh wave of anxiety through Thompson. This was the climax that shattered Mr. Harrison, antagonist type A shattered. Only this time, it was Tiffany Dubois, antagonist type A shattered, whose carefully constructed world was imploding. The revelation of Marcus Jenkins's true identity, far from being a simple parent-teacher meeting, was a public declaration of war against systemic bullying and prejudice, executed with military precision. Tiffany, the architect of countless small cruelties, was now facing a devastating reckoning, unable to retreat or deflect. As Marcus Jenkins spoke, a hush fell over the crowd. The quiet authority of his voice, combined with the visible sign of his elite military service, conveyed an undeniable moral force. He wasn't just a father protecting his daughter. He was a man embodying the very principles of courage and justice that the Community Heroes Day was supposed to celebrate. He represented the antithesis of everything Tiffany and her parents stood for. Not superficial wealth or social standing, but genuine sacrifice, integrity, and honor. Tiffany finally found her voice, a broken, desperate whisper. "Daddy. I want my daddy," she whimpered, her perfect facade crumbling entirely, revealing the scared, entitled child beneath. The crowd, which had once been captivated by her charm, now watched her with a mixture of pity and contempt. Jessica and Chloe quickly melted into the crowd, desperate to disappear. Principal Thompson, red-faced and sweating, finally managed to guide a sobbing, humiliated Tiffany out of the auditorium through a side door. The once dominant cheerleader was now a public spectacle of disgrace, her carefully maintained image shattered beyond repair. Marcus Jenkins, seeing his daughter Maya now standing tall, her eyes no longer clouded but shining with fierce pride, offered her a small, knowing smile. He then turned to the assembled students and teachers, his voice still calm, but resonating with the weight of his conviction. "My daughter Maya came to Northwood High with enthusiasm and a desire to contribute. She faced challenges, not from the sport itself, but from a hostile environment created by certain individuals. Let this be a lesson to all of you," he said, his gaze sweeping across the stunned faces. that true strength lies not in tearing others down, but in lifting them up. True leadership is about integrity and respect, not intimidation. And true courage is about standing up for what is right, even when it's difficult. He paused, letting his words sink in. Every person deserves to feel safe, respected, and valued in their learning environment, and my family will ensure that this principle is upheld, not just for Maya, but for every student at Northwood High. The applause that followed was not merely polite, it was thunderous. Students cheered, some wiping tears from their eyes. The handful of veterans in the audience rose, offering a sharp, respectful salute to a fellow warrior, a man who had brought his battle-honed integrity to the most unexpected of battlegrounds. Later that day, Principal Thompson, facing immediate pressure from the school board and a flurry of angry calls from parents who had witnessed the scene, issued a public statement. Mr. Harrison's demise a few years prior at Oakwood had set a precedent, and Thompson knew he had to act swiftly and decisively. The statement announced Tiffany Dubois' immediate suspension from the cheerleading squad and the school, pending a full investigation into her conduct, as well as a comprehensive review of the cheerleading program's culture. Tiffany's parents, the prominent Dubois family, initially tried to leverage their influence, but the undeniable public nature of the incident, combined with the formidable reputation of Marcus Jenkins and the threat of legal action, quickly silenced their protests. Their carefully cultivated image began to unravel under the glare of national media attention. Tiffany's reign, built on privilege and cruelty, had definitively ended. As for Maya, she walked out of the auditorium that day with her head held high, the heavy weight of the past weeks finally lifted. Her father, walking beside her, placed a hand on her shoulder. "You handled yourself with incredible grace and strength, Pumpkin," he told her, his voice filled with pride. "You are tough, resilient, and true. Don't ever forget that." Maya looked up at him, her eyes bright and clear, the quiet storm inside her replaced by a profound sense of peace and vindication. She knew her journey at Northwood wouldn't be without challenges, but she also knew, with unwavering certainty, that she no longer had to face them alone. Her father had not just defended her, he had empowered her, showing her that truth, even when quietly held, possessed an undeniable power that could shatter even the strongest of illusions. The battle was won, and the canvas of Northwood High's future, once marked by unseen cruelties, was now ready for a new, brighter, and more equitable design. The fallout from Chief Petty Officer Marcus Jenkins's stunning revelation at Northwood High was immediate and seismic. The news, fueled by eyewitness accounts, video snippets captured by defiant students, and the inherent drama of a Navy SEAL unmasking a high school bully, exploded beyond the quiet suburban confines of Crestwood. Local news quickly escalated to national headlines. Navy SEAL dad exposes daughter's bullies. Military precision takes down high school queen bee. And truth prevails at Northwood High. The story resonated deeply, tapping into widespread anxieties about bullying, entitlement, and the subtle prejudices that often lurk beneath polished surfaces. Principal Thompson, a man whose career had been built on maintaining Northwood's pristine image, found himself in an unprecedented crisis. The school board, inundated with furious calls from parents, both those supporting Maya and those appalled by the Dubois family's influence, and facing intense media scrutiny, demanded immediate and decisive action. Tiffany Dubois' suspension was swiftly made permanent, and a formal investigation into her conduct, as well as the cheerleading program's culture, was launched. The initial attempts by Tiffany's parents, the powerful Dubois family, to leverage their social and financial influence to quash the scandal proved utterly futile. The undeniable public nature of the incident, combined with the formidable and unshakable presence of Marcus Jenkins and the implicit threat of legal action from a man of his standing, swiftly silenced their protests. Their carefully constructed edifice of privilege began to crumble under the glare of national attention. Tiffany's reign, built on entitlement and cruelty, had definitively ended, replaced by an ignominious public disgrace. The scandal forced Northwood High to undertake a painful but necessary period of introspection. An independent audit revealed systemic issues within the cheerleading program, including a pervasive culture of cliquishness, unchecked social hierarchies, and a lack of proper oversight regarding student conduct. Coach Miller, deeply remorseful and committed to reform, voluntarily stepped down from her head coaching position, taking on a more supportive role, and a new head coach, known for her emphasis on team unity and inclusive values, was brought in. Mandatory anti-bullying and implicit bias training programs were instituted for all faculty, staff, and student leadership. The school also launched a comprehensive review of its admissions and scholarship policies, seeking to foster genuine diversity and ensure that merit, not just privilege, was the sole determinant of success. The painful incident served as a stark, undeniable wake-up call, forcing Northwood to actively dismantle the subtle structures of prejudice and entitlement that had long festered beneath its polished veneer. For Chief Petty Officer Marcus Jenkins, the fallout was a complex blend of increased public recognition and a minor disruption to his meticulously maintained operational security. While his military life was already discreet, his face and name were now nationally recognized. However, the outpouring of support from military families, veterans organizations, and countless ordinary citizens far outweighed any inconvenience. Within the Navy SEAL community, his actions were met with quiet pride and profound respect. He had, after all, simply extended his core values of integrity and protection to his family. His commanding officers viewed the incident not as a breach of protocol, but as a testament to his character, further cementing his reputation as a leader of unwavering resolve and moral rectitude. He received commendations, not for his combat prowess, but for his exceptional leadership in the dignified defense of his daughter, a testament to his character that resonated deeply within the military's highest echelons. While he preferred to remain out of the public eye, he did accept a few select invitations to speak about resilience, integrity, and the importance of supporting military families, always emphasizing Maya's courage in enduring the bullying. Maya Jenkins, once the quiet new girl, now carried herself with a profound and quiet confidence. The constant anxiety that had clouded her days evaporated, replaced by a radiant sense of self-worth and belonging. Her transformation was palpable. Students who had once ignored her now sought her out, genuinely admiring her strength and resilience. The cheerleading squad, under its new leadership and following the systemic reforms, became a truly supportive environment. Maya, no longer battling unseen enemies, blossomed into a phenomenal cheerleader, her innate talent now fully unleashed. She became a de facto leader, not through dominance, but through empathy and inclusion, always extending a hand to new students and ensuring no one felt like an outsider. The experience, while painful, had etched within her a deep understanding of justice and injustice, a profound appreciation for her family's values, and an unshakable belief in her own voice. She learned that true power came not from social standing or popularity, but from integrity and the courage to stand firm in her truth. Her bond with her father, already strong, deepened immeasurably, forged in the crucible of shared adversity and triumphant vindication. The broader Crestwood community, initially shocked by the scandal, also began a period of profound self-reflection. The incident served as a catalyst for larger conversations about bullying, social class, and racial bias within the seemingly idyllic suburban landscape. Local parent groups organized workshops on fostering empathy and addressing entitlement in children. Community leaders, inspired by Maya's story, initiated dialogues about creating more inclusive spaces beyond the school system, recognizing that privilege and prejudice were not confined to Northwood High. The incident, painful and embarrassing for some, ultimately spurred a collective desire for a more equitable and compassionate community. The immediate aftermath of the unmasking had been a storm, but from its churning depths, calmer tides began to emerge. The old guard, represented by the crumbled reign of Tiffany Dubois, was forced to confront its own decay. And in its place, the seeds of genuine change, nurtured by integrity and quiet courage, began to sprout, promising a future where fairness and respect were not just ideals, but lived realities. Northwood High, and indeed Crestwood itself, was embarking on a challenging but necessary journey of rebuilding, learning, and ultimately healing. 5 years had unfurled since the seismic event at Northwood High, an incident that had stripped bare the veneer of suburban perfection and revealed the insidious currents of prejudice and entitlement lurking beneath. Crestwood, once caught in the throes of a public reckoning, had since embarked on a painstaking journey of self-improvement, a testament to the fact that genuine change, though slow and arduous, was indeed possible. The immediate furore had subsided, leaving behind a deeper, more permanent commitment to fostering an environment of true inclusivity and respect. Chief Petty Officer Marcus Jenkins had officially retired from the U.S. Navy SEALs, ending a career marked by unparalleled bravery, strategic brilliance, and unwavering integrity. His final years in service were spent not only on high-stakes missions, but also quietly shaping policy on leadership development and mental resilience within elite forces, often drawing on his personal experience of confronting complex human dynamics, both on the battlefield and in suburban high schools. He became a highly sought-after consultant for leadership development programs in both the private and public sectors, his insights on team cohesion, ethical decision-making, and navigating high-pressure environments proving invaluable. Despite his illustrious career, Marcus remained the same grounded, observant, and deeply loving father. He cherished his newfound time at home, cultivating a tranquil garden, spending long hours with his family, and continuing to be Maya's silent rock and unwavering confidant. His quiet strength, once deployed in combat zones, was now a steady, anchoring force in his family and community, a powerful reminder that true heroism often manifests not in grand gestures, but in consistent integrity and unwavering principle. Maya Jenkins, now a formidable young woman in her early 20s, was blossoming into her own. The crucible of her high school experience, though painful, had forged an unshakable resolve and a clear sense of purpose. She had graduated from Northwood High with honors, her academic achievements bolstered by her leadership on a profoundly transformed cheerleading squad that now prided itself on diversity and mutual support. She went on to attend a prestigious university, majoring in psychology and sociology, driven by a deep desire to understand human behavior, social dynamics, and the roots of prejudice. During her summers, she interned with organizations dedicated to anti-bullying advocacy and mental health support for adolescents, channeling her past experiences into meaningful change for others. She was now contemplating graduate school, her sights set on a career in social justice or educational reform, aiming to create systems where no student would endure the subtle cruelties she had faced. Her quiet intensity had matured into a compassionate yet determined advocacy, her voice calm but firm, embodying the resilience she had learned from her father. The profound transformation at Northwood High School was perhaps one of the most visible testaments to the incident's ripple effect. The school, once marred by elitism and subtle prejudice, had become a genuine leader in fostering an equitable learning environment. Under new leadership, with a principal deeply committed to reform, the cheerleading program was completely overhauled, emphasizing inclusivity, teamwork, and character development over social hierarchy. The student body was noticeably more diverse thanks to aggressive outreach programs and expanded scholarships. Anti-bullying initiatives were not mere posters on walls, but integral parts of daily school life, with student-led groups fostering peer support and conflict resolution. The Community Heroes and Veterans Appreciation Day continued annually, but it had shifted from a performative event to a truly meaningful celebration of service and a platform for inter-community dialogue, often featuring Marcus Jenkins as an honored guest speaker, sharing lessons not about military might, but about the quiet courage of integrity. Tiffany Dubois, on the other hand, had vanished from Northwood's social landscape. Her public humiliation and the ensuing investigations had completely shattered her social standing. Her family, unable to recover from the media scrutiny and the significant damage to their once unblemished reputation, had quietly moved away from Crestwood. The last whispers suggested Tiffany struggled with the fallout, unable to reconcile her sense of entitlement with the harsh reality of public disgrace. She became a cautionary tale, a stark reminder that privilege, when unchecked and weaponized by prejudice, could lead to a catastrophic downfall. Her narrative served as a silent, yet powerful warning to others who might consider wielding social power with such reckless disregard for human dignity. The final image of Crestwood reflects its ongoing journey of healing and growth. It's a warm, bustling Saturday morning at the Crestwood Community Wellness Center, a new, state-of-the-art facility built on what was once a contentious, empty lot near the old-school boundary lines. The center, a joint venture between the local government, school district, and various community organizations, symbolizes the city's renewed commitment to holistic well-being and unity. Inside the sun-drenched common area, Marcus Jenkins, his silver hair now a distinguished feature, is leading a mindfulness and resilience workshop for a diverse group of local parents and educators. His voice, calm and reassuring, guides them through exercises on managing stress and fostering empathy. He speaks not of combat, but of the inner strength required to navigate life's challenges with grace and integrity. Outside, on the newly laid walking paths that snake through the center's tranquil gardens, Maya Jenkins is engaged in a spirited discussion with a group of high school students. She's informally mentoring them, sharing insights from her university studies on social psychology and discussing strategies for fostering positive peer relationships. She gestures animatedly, her passion for creating inclusive environments evident in every word. The air in Crestwood is no longer thick with unspoken tensions or the subtle hum of social stratification. Instead, there's a palpable sense of shared purpose, a quiet current of collective progress. The scars of the past are still present, etched into the collective memory, but they serve not as reminders of division, but as powerful symbols of lessons learned and battles overcome. The initial moment of a bully's unchecked cruelty had ignited a profound transformation, proving that even in the most entrenched environments, the enduring current of truth and integrity would inevitably reshape the landscape, forging a community not of forced uniformity, but of genuine, flourishing diversity. 10 years later, the echoes of the Northwood High incident had transformed from a jarring alarm into a foundational hum, a constant, underlying frequency shaping Crestwood's new identity. The city, once unknowingly susceptible to subtle prejudices, now stood as a testament to radical grassroots transformation. The memory of Tiffany Dubois' downfall and the quiet power of Marcus Jenkins's truth had solidified into a powerful civic lesson, informing every facet of community life. Marcus Jenkins, having concluded his distinguished career, was no longer just a retired Navy SEAL. He had become a revered community elder and a national figure in ethical leadership and resilience. His quiet dignity and unwavering principles had earned him immense respect. He dedicated his retirement to philanthropic endeavors, particularly focusing on youth mentorship programs in underserved communities across the country. He served on the boards of several nonprofits dedicated to fostering integrity, courage, and mental fortitude in young people, often sharing his personal story. Not as a tale of triumph over a bully, but as an example of the quiet power of standing firm in one's truth. He taught workshops on conflict resolution and the importance of self-awareness, drawing on both his military experience and his personal journey as a father. His presence in Crestwood was a calming, anchoring force, a living embodiment of true strength and unwavering character. Maya Jenkins, a beacon of compassionate leadership, had found her calling in public service. After graduating with a dual degree in psychology and social justice, she pursued a career in educational policy. She worked for a national nonprofit advocating for equitable and inclusive school environments, leveraging her own experiences to shape policy recommendations and curriculum reforms. Her work took her to school districts across the country, where she advised on anti-bullying programs, diversity initiatives, and creating supportive spaces for marginalized students. Her voice, once quiet and reserved, had matured into a compelling, empathetic force, capable of articulating complex social issues with clarity and conviction. When she returned to Crestwood, she often spoke at local schools, including a fundamentally transformed Northwood High, sharing her story not with bitterness, but with a message of hope, resilience, and the transformative power of empathy. The Northwood High School that Maya had left was utterly unrecognizable from the institution of 10 years prior. It had become a celebrated model for inclusive education, shedding its reputation for elitism and prejudice. The cheerleading squad, now led by a diverse coaching staff, was renowned for its emphasis on teamwork, mutual respect, and genuine camaraderie, attracting students from all backgrounds. The school's administration, under the continued leadership of a deeply reformed principal, had fostered a culture where diversity was not just tolerated, but actively celebrated. New curricula on social justice, empathy, and critical thinking were seamlessly integrated into every subject, ensuring that future generations of Northwood students would be equipped not only with academic knowledge, but also with profound ethical awareness and social responsibility. Tiffany Dubois and her family had become a fading, cautionary tale. Having left Crestwood years ago, their names were rarely, if ever, mentioned. The social currency they once wielded had been permanently devalued by their public fall from grace. The last whispers suggested a life marked by continuous struggle with the consequences of unchecked privilege and a profound inability to adapt or learn. Their absence from Crestwood's vibrant, evolving landscape served as a silent yet powerful reminder of the price of prejudice and the enduring nature of true accountability. The final image of Crestwood paints a vivid, inspiring portrait of a community that had not just recovered, but had truly flourished. It's a warm, early evening at the Jenkins Community Center, a magnificent state-of-the-art facility built on what was once the sprawling, unused private estate of the Dubois family, purchased and repurposed through a visionary public-private partnership. The center, now a bustling hub of activity, serves as a beacon of Crestwood's progressive spirit, offering free educational workshops, arts programs, and recreational activities for all ages and backgrounds. Inside the center's main hall, filled with a diverse intergenerational crowd, Marcus Jenkins, distinguished and serene, is being honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award for his contributions to community leadership and ethical development. He stands on stage, his presence radiating quiet authority, accepting the accolades with humble gratitude. In the audience, Maya Jenkins, beaming with pride, sits beside her father's former commanding officer, now a close family friend, and other community leaders who have been instrumental in Crestwood's transformation. Her phone buzzes with a message from a colleague at her nonprofit, congratulating her father and discussing plans for a new school partnership. Outside, in the sprawling, beautifully landscaped gardens of the center, children of every background play freely, their laughter echoing through the twilight. Teenagers from Northwood High's diverse cheerleading squad are practicing stunts on a designated mat, their movements fluid and synchronized, their shouts of encouragement genuine and joyful. The air in Crestwood is no longer thick with the unspoken tensions of class or race. Instead, it vibrates with the harmonious energy of a community truly at peace with itself, forged in the fires of adversity, but tempered by the enduring strength of truth, courage, and an unwavering commitment to building a better future for all. The once unseen battle had yielded an enduring bloom, a legacy of light that continued to illuminate the path forward for generations to come. 15 years had passed since the incident at Northwood High School, and Crestwood, once a quiet, affluent suburb with hidden fissures of prejudice, had solidified its reputation as a leading example of intentional community building and profound social justice. The echoes of that singular event had long transformed into the bedrock of its ethos, a constant reminder that true progress stemmed from confronting uncomfortable truths and fostering genuine inclusivity. The journey had been long, arduous, and sometimes painful, but the collective commitment had yielded a blossoming legacy. Marcus Jenkins, now a revered elder statesman of the community, had embraced a life of quiet but profound influence. His retirement from military consulting had allowed him to fully immerse himself in local philanthropy and mentorship. He established the Jenkins Institute for Ethical Leadership and Community Resilience, a local nonprofit headquartered in the former Dubois estate, now the Jenkins Community Center. The institute offered free workshops for veterans transitioning to civilian life, at-risk youth seeking guidance, and aspiring community leaders, focusing on the core principles of integrity, discipline, and empathetic leadership. His quiet wisdom, honed through years of elite service and personal trials, made him a sought-after confidant and mentor, his presence a living testament to the power of principled action and unwavering character. He often spent his afternoons at the community center's garden, tending to the plants with the same meticulous care he once applied to his missions, his mind at peace, observing the vibrant life that bloomed around him. Maya Jenkins, now an influential figure in her own right, was a celebrated leader in the field of social justice and educational equity. Her academic journey had culminated in a PhD in educational psychology, and she served as the director of policy and programs for a nationally recognized foundation dedicated to dismantling systemic barriers in education. Her work involved advising state legislatures, collaborating with school districts, and designing innovative curricula that fostered critical thinking, empathy, and cultural competency from early childhood education through high school. She was a compelling public speaker, often drawing on her personal narrative not as a tale of victimhood, but as a powerful illustration of the resilience of the human spirit and the transformative potential of confronting prejudice. She frequently returned to Crestwood, not just to visit family, but to chair local forums on youth empowerment and serve as a guest lecturer at Northwood High, inspiring the next generation to become architects of a more just world. Ben Carter, the once troubled chief, had completed his tenure as the chief of police for Crestwood, retiring after a decade of transformative leadership. Under his guidance, the Crestwood Police Department had achieved national recognition for its innovative community policing model, low use of force incidents, and unparalleled public trust. He had implemented radical reforms, including mandatory de-escalation training, community-led review boards with genuine oversight, and a recruitment pipeline that prioritized empathy and cultural understanding over traditional metrics. After his retirement, he joined the faculty of a prestigious university, co-directing a new program focused on police reform and community relations, teaching the next generation of law enforcement leaders how to build bridges of trust rather than walls of division. His journey from silent complicity to pioneering reform was a powerful narrative, a living testament to the possibility of profound personal and institutional redemption. The Northwood High School of today stood as an enduring monument to genuine transformation. It was no longer merely a top academic institution, but a vibrant hub of cultural exchange and social activism. Its diversity initiatives were woven into the very fabric of its identity, from its curriculum that highlighted global perspectives and diverse histories, to its student body, which reflected the true tapestry of society. The cheerleading squad, now led by Maya's former coach, who had embraced and championed the reforms, continued to be a symbol of unity and teamwork. Its members celebrated not for social status, but for their athleticism, character, and inclusivity. The Tiffany Dubois saga had faded into distant memory, a cautionary tale rarely recounted, its bitterness having been thoroughly metabolized by the community's progress. Her family's former estate, now the thriving Jenkins Community Center, served as a powerful daily reminder that even the vestiges of past privilege and prejudice could be transformed into catalysts for collective good. The final image of Crestwood paints a picture of serene, vibrant prosperity, a community blooming in its truest sense. It's a warm, late afternoon at the Crestwood Annual Unity Festival, held on the sprawling grounds of the Jenkins Community Center and Maria's Legacy Park, now seamlessly connected by pedestrian walkways and vibrant art installations. Thousands of residents, representing every conceivable background, mingle, laugh, and celebrate under a sky painted with hues of orange and purple. On a central stage, bathed in the glow of the setting sun, Dr. Maya Jenkins is delivering the keynote address, her voice resonating with passion and conviction, speaking about the power of collective action and the enduring pursuit of equity. She gestures towards the diverse crowd, her words a testament to the community's journey. In the front row, Marcus Jenkins, his eyes twinkling with pride, watches his daughter, a quiet smile gracing his lips. Beside him sits Dr. Ben Carter, his silver hair glinting, his face reflecting a profound sense of peace and accomplishment. They share a knowing glance, two men whose individual acts of courage, woven into a larger tapestry of community effort, had forged this remarkable reality. Children of all ethnicities play in the background, their laughter echoing, their faces bright with unburdened joy. Teenagers from Northwood High's cheerleading squad perform an energetic routine, their cheers a symphony of unity. The rhythmic beat of drums from a cultural performance mingles with the scent of diverse cuisines from food trucks. There is no tension, no undercurrent of division, only a palpable sense of belonging and shared purpose. Crestwood had not just overcome its past, it had transcended it, becoming a shining example of how a community, through unwavering dedication to truth and empathy, could truly bloom into a lasting, vibrant testament to the power of a shared, equitable future. If General Eleanor Vance's story and Maya's resilience stirred your heart and reminded you that courage can alter destinies and that light always finds a path even in the deepest darkness, please leave a comment below. Share this narrative with those who need inspiration. Like, subscribe, and hit the bell to never miss upcoming narratives that delve into the profound human spirit and the power of unseen heroes. Thank you for joining this journey,